we hear at this thing? What's this all about? And by the way, this is a Scottish accent. So, reset the filters and pretend it's Sean Connery talking to you, okay? 007. So if you can follow me, I'm just going to talk the way I talk, and fuck you if you don't understand. The deal is this. I've been writing this comic for the last 6 years, and the weird thing was, like you, like everyone here, we're trying to figure what's going on. Why do we feel different? Why don't we fit into this world? Why do we think that they're not telling us the truth? So I went out and I read Robert Anton Wilson's books when I was 20 years old, which is 20 years ago now. And I figured, is this guy bullshitting me? He says we can talk to aliens, we can talk to people from Sirius. Is he talking crap? He said Aleister Crowley's got methods for contacting alien intelligence and for changing the world. Is he talking crap? So I did it. And no, he's not talking crap. Right? And we can all do it. And this is by way of trying to demolish the counterculture and replace it with something useful. We're just going to start here and see where we get to. When I started doing The Invisibles, which is a comic book for people who haven't seen the thing, it's a comic book which is kind of my attempt to explain what happened to me after I'd been abducted by aliens in Kathmandu in 1994. And the only reason I was abducted by aliens in Kathmandu in 1994 is because I went to Kathmandu in 1994 to be abducted by aliens. And it works, right? And these fuckers, they will turn up. And what they told me was this, and they tell everyone this same bullshit, but it's in different perspectives, it's from different nervous systems, it seems to be filtered through everyone's own view of the world, but they keep telling us the same shit. So I met these guys, I'm sitting in the roof garden of the Vajra Hotel in Kathmandu, and I was totally doing tons of dope, but in my defence, I do like a quarter of dope a day, and I've been doing it since 1990. So I know this shit, and as you all know, everyone out there who's ahead and who knows what I'm talking about, you don't hallucinate, right? If you go to the garage, it's the fucking garage. If you go to the 7-Eleven, it's the fucking 7-Eleven. You might be stoned, you might be picking up lots of interesting little bits and pieces that you don't normally get when you're straight, but you know what's real and you know what's not real. So, as I say, in my defence, man, I was loaded. But this was the end of a week in which I'd been loaded every single day, and I'm sitting up there in the roof garden, and suddenly these fuckers arrive. And they arrive en masse, and they look exactly like Terence McKenna described. Why is that? Because I just read Terence McKenna a year before. What they told me was they took me out of my body, I wasn't in my body anymore. This doesn't normally happen with hash, this happens on DMT or it happens on ketamine or something, right? I'm on hash, a tiny little bit, size of a lentil, and I start tripping and I'm out of my body. And these fuckers are there and they said, where do you want to go? The first thing I said was Alpha Centauri, which is the first thing you would say, of course. And they took me to Alpha Centauri, and it's fucking real, it's there. There's 3 suns, the whole thing was moving exactly as we're told it's supposed to move astronomically. And I'm there, and I said to them, well, what the hell's going on here? As you might. And they said, we've come to tell you this stuff so that you can put it in your work and explain it to the world. Why do they always say that to everyone? Why do they always tell everyone to go out and tell the world what's going on, and everyone tells us the same shit? So these things, I met them, and what they were was like silver, like those things you get in rave videos, basically silver morphing mercurial blobs of chrome that think. And they took me to the 5th dimension. And the 5th dimension is outside space and time, and they explained to me what time is all about. The universe we live in is designed to grow larvae, right? Believe it, don't you? Don't have to believe it, I'm just setting the story here. They explained to me that beyond space and time, we have our actual selves. These things that we're experiencing right now are sections through time. Everyone in here is a section through time. But in actual fact, you're not experiencing your real body. What is your real body? Your real body is a process that starts when you're born and it moves forward until you die. That is you. Seen from outside, that's what you look like. You look like a gigantic centipede spread around all the little things that you always do, up and down through your house, up the stairs, down to the store, back. And it's a centipede, it's us, right? It starts as a little baby and it comes out of your mother's womb and it gets bigger. And that is the process in time. Like I say, we're experiencing sections now, so we don't spend a lot of time thinking about this. But think of ourselves as processes through time, which is what we actually are. We all know we were 12, we all know we were 10 years old. Where is that? Point to it. Show me you at 10 years old, and yet you were there. So these things said to me, this is what's going on. We use time to grow larvae because outside space and time you can't grow anything because it's timeless. Nothing grows. What you want to do, if you want to make one of these higher dimensional beings who's actually us already, is you grow it in time. So you make a universe. And how you make a universe is you plug a little part of yourself into the information world that they live in, which is what I seem to be experiencing, is a sea of pure information. And they exist in that, but there is no time. Time is part of that, but this is the fifth dimension. It's time, space, breadth, depth, plus. And they said to me, the universe you live in, the world you're living on, is a larvae. Every single one of us here is the same thing. There's no distinction. All we do, we don't understand what we are. And they explained to me, if you've got a two-dimensional field, say, flat plane, you stick your hand through it, there's one hand there, but if you stick your hand through a two-dimensional plane and there's two-dimensional entities who live on there, they will see 4 circles, right? 4 distinct, completely different circles, but no, it's the one hand. Every one of us in here is the same fucker. We're all the same thing, according to these weirdos. And what we are is intersected. Thank you. I'm glad someone agrees. What we are is intersections through 4D space-time. So, yeah, I look like this. I stop here. No, I don't stop here. I've been here for, 5 minutes now? Where was that guy who was here 5 minutes ago? Right, where is he? Point to him. But he was existed. You all saw him. I saw you 5 minutes ago. Where is that guy? So this led me into obviously some very strange alleyways. And these things explain to me that, as I say, the universe is some kind of larval entity. What it does is it proceeds through stages of development. Now, if you think about a fetus in the womb, and there's a famous phrase that says, phylogeny recapitulates, evolution, or whatever the fuck it is. I forget the good bits. But there's the idea that if you've got a fetus, it starts off, it goes through every single thing. It starts as a unicellular entity, it splits, it becomes a lizard, it becomes a mammal, eventually it becomes a human. And they said to me, the culture you're living in is, understand it this way, phylogeny recapitulates history. So what we're actually watching is this thing coming towards self-awareness and coherence in the same way that a fetus does. We haven't even been born yet. There is no adult on this planet. There's not one adult on this planet, which explains a lot. And it explains why we let fuckers like Bill Clinton bomb the Kosovans. It explains why I let Tony Blair put cameras in the streets. Punk rock, dude. This is a Donna Karan suit. Fuck it. So leading on from these ridiculous, where do you go from that? So I was told this stuff when I come out, and I'm just this little kid from Govan in Glasgow, which is a real dodgy area. And I didn't go to university, I left school at 18, but suddenly I found out that if you do these things that you're told by Alistair Crowley, by Wilson, by all these people we read and all these people we've been consuming, but we don't do it, if you actually do what they say, things happen. Things occur exactly as it's described, and we can all do it. So I decided to put this to use in the comic book that I was doing, this thing called The Invisible. And the idea was to kind of get all this down on paper and somehow look at it, not to accept it as reality, to accept it as purely this is part of human experience. It's a part of human experience that has been described to us for thousands and thousands of years, but for the last 200 has been hidden and made occult for some reason that I don't understand. It seems to have to do with the Industrial Revolution and corporate culture. So these things happen. Magic works. And when I started doing the comic, I found that you could actually make magic happen by writing things and changing the operating system of the universe. It works, and I'm here to tell you to try it when you go home tonight, because it fucking works. And what happens if we all do it? Everyone in this room decides to take control of reality. I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about quantum physics. I'm talking about taking control of things from the quantum level up, from the molecular level up, and it works. This magic works. So I'll tell you something you can do while I'm here. One of the best techniques, and one of the easiest techniques to prove that this thing works, is to practice sigil magic. Technique is simple. Have a desire tonight. Go home and do this. Don't listen to this shit. Don't listen to my bullshit and go home and think, yeah, we're the fucking counterculture. Do it! Do it, and we will change the world. Right? Because I did it. I didn't trust those guys. I didn't trust Wilson. I didn't trust those people who told me we could do this stuff. And I'm here to tell you it works. And you can do it. We can all do it. Number one, first thing you do, write down a desire. Make it something easy that is likely to happen, something possible, rather than say, you know, I'm going to be king of the moon, which you may want to be, as we all do, but it's kind of hard to be king of the moon. You're going to have to get a rocket and go up there. So pick something easy. If you want to sigilize for a lottery win, make sure you buy a ticket, or else it won't work. So these are the conditions within the material universe that we live in. One of the things we're actually dealing with is as I say, some kind of operating system that can be hacked using words. And words seem to be the binding agent for this thing, whatever it is. So I wrote this comic book, and as I wrote it, it became true. Things I would make the characters do became true. The main character was, I gave him a bald head and a leather jacket because I thought people would like me when they read the comic. And bald heads were really uncool back in 1992. And it worked. I found that if I put the character through a situation where he was being tortured, where his lungs had burst and he was being held in captivity and subjected to all these awful things, 3 months later I'm in hospital, 2 burst lungs, dying of blood poisoning and facing exactly the same shamanic trial that I put my character through. So once I figured out that, I thought, well, the best thing to do is give this guy an easy time in the future. So as a result of all this, I just split up with my girlfriend, and I said, okay, I want a new one. I want it to look exactly like this chick in the comic. She's cool. So I did a sigil. A month later, the girl turns up. Then another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. All aspects of this character, and I realised, oh fuck, this is insane. Because it works, and I've done something ridiculous, because now I'm dealing with all these women who look like the character, but I don't get on with, or I can't talk to, or I can't deal with. And I began to realise a little bit about how this stuff works. So beyond that, I decided I won't just use it to get laid, because it seems pretty pretty low grade kind of way of dealing with magic. But man, it works. And I thought, how much could you affect reality by writing a comic that mimicked reality but pushed it in weird directions? So around about 1997, I decided I would really seriously turn the thing into a super sigil. And it was based on the idea of, if you look at cave art, the first writing was done basically as art. And if someone wanted to make something happen, like if you were some like fucked up caveman in a cave somewhere moaning about the dinner, what do? You draw a bison on the wall, stick some spears in it, go out, and the bison dies filled with spears. And hey man, we can make this happen. Slowly those things become letters, they become words, they become reduced to abstractions, complexes of meaning. And you can take that basic idea, and as we've seen, people like Austin Osman Spare, the magician from the early part of the century, or Crowley, or the Chaos magicians from the 80s, who were a big inspiration on me, they use this stuff. And what you can do is this, like I say, try this at home. Write down a desire. Quite simple, say, it is my desire that my cat wins the Olympics. Take out all the vowels. Write this down, for fuck's sake, and do it. Don't just listen, do it, right? Take out the vowels, and you'll be left with a string of consonants. Take out the repeated consonants, and you'll be left with a string of consonants that no repeats in it, whatever, X, Y, A, D, whatever. Turn that thing into a little image. Take the D, draw a big D, then you've got a T, draw a T under it, and keep reducing it down until it looks magical. And there are no rules for this thing. Do it until it looks magical. At that point, you now have a sigil. The sigil will work. You can project desire into reality and change reality. It works. Those must be the people who've done it. So please, write this down, go home and do it and check it, verify the results, because scientific procedure, I was reading this thing in New Scientist this week, and they said the difference between bad science and good science is that scientific procedure has 3 criteria. And the criteria are that you can verify results, you can talk to other people who've done the thing and make sure, that it works out. You can duplicate results, and also some other thing I've forgotten. Well, yeah, 2 things is fucking good, isn't it? This is verifiable. People have been telling us about this for thousands of years. The Tibetans have been telling us about this. The Mesopotamians have been telling us about this. And why has it been made occult? Because Coca-Cola have got the secret. These people know what we're talking about here, because what you do is you create a sigil. Coca-Cola is a sigil. The McDonald's M is a sigil. These people are basically turning the world into themselves using sigils. And if we don't reverse that process and turn the world into us using sigils, we're going to be living in fucking McDonald's. Right, but McDonald's have no more power than us, apart from the fact, like, as Doug said earlier, they got some money. Fuck it, who cares? You know what? The top levels of this stuff, no one's using money anyway. Do you think Rupert Murdoch or the Queen or Bill Clinton, any of these fuckers use money? Of course they don't. They've realised that the money is the only useful to sell to the middle classes and the people in the middle who make things happen and make things run. So we've been sold a fiction. There's no such thing as money. Ignore it. At the higher levels, there is no. Yeah, hey! There is no money. These fuckers don't use money. If Rupert Murdoch wants a Rolls Royce, they give him one because he's Rupert Murdoch. And if they see him in a Rolls Royce, it means you get some status from it. So you've got to understand, these people in the higher levels are operating in a hierarchy of exchange and barter. On the lower levels, like in Glasgow where I live, which is the poorest city in Europe, people are living on a hierarchy of exchange that's quite different. They steal shit and they sell it back and they have their own little money and they have this complete black market economy. There's only us in the middle who think money's worth any fucking thing and we chase it until we drop. So forget it. Where was I? And the other thing is also I hate talking at people, so if anybody wants to join in, just please, put your hand up, because I fucking hate just talking at people. So having figured these weird things out, having thought about this and having been through this experience, which is exactly the experience I was promised by Wilson, McKenna, Philip K. Dick, everyone, they promised us this thing, and it was, you can get the experiences, do what they told you to do, and it will happen. I promise you will meet aliens, they will talk to you. The Golden Dawn called this the conversation of the Holy Guardian, knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angels, sorry. So it's been around for a while, it's accessible to everyone. Magic is accessible to everyone. The means of altering reality is accessible to everyone. And when everyone starts doing it, we're going to get to see desire manifest on a gigantic scale. Everyone's desire. What happens when everyone's desire becomes manifest? Does the universe have to split up into a billion to accommodate it? Do we all have to suddenly understand that we're all in the same place and we can all share each other's desires? I don't know. I'm just here to talk about this stuff. So beyond that, beyond the alien abduction experience, I was working on the comic and I began to think of it seriously. I'd set up the comic to try and explore some of the problems we were dealing with, which are, as Doug pointed out earlier, problems of duality, us and them, good versus evil, this versus that. And as I worked my way through the comic, I began to realise some interesting things. I'll share them with you. These might not be true. They're useful little thoughts. You might be able to spin them, do something with them. But really, I'm just up here as someone who has read the same shit you've all read, put it into practice and found that it works. So here's my version of what happens. Doing the comic, I set up these characters. The whole thing was set up as an adventure story where there's some bad guys who live in another dimension who want to enslave us all, and there's some good guys living in another dimension who want us all to have a good time. In the middle, there is us. And we are trying to obviously have a good time. Everybody wants to have a good time. You know, Hitler wanted to have a good time. And we all want to have a good time. So we've got to understand that as a starter. The more I set up these dualities, the more I set these people against the opposition, the more it began to seem like a complete crock. And we've been sold this nonsense of opposition. And I began to find, the closer I got to the end of the series, that the whole opposition element of it was the least meaningful, least important part of it. And that we've actually been deluding ourselves in a lot of ways. Beyond that, I find that we've been deluding ourselves in the worst way of all by believing in the individual. Right? Stay with me on this. Kafka, Orwell, Patrick McGowan, the prisoner, everyone told us the individual was the most important thing we could be. Everyone is fucking quirky these days. Every shit in the window of MTV is quirky. Everyone's cool, everyone's smart. It's not true. What if the individual was the fake? What if the individual was the crock? And we've actually been sold that by them, by the man, the establishment, whatever you want. Because what occurred to me is that when you talk about the individual and you deal with the individual, you find that the end of the individual is neurosis.